Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Wildwinds, a park that is modeled, at least in the entrance area, after Carowinds, and definitely more on the Cedar Fair style variety park. And so, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out the first 3 episodes so you can see kind of the process through building this Fury style coaster and building the entrance area. And today we are actually going to put in some more rides and a new coaster or two as we are moving down to this area. And this is going to become a kids area. And my main thought with that is that I wanted to create a little bit of depth and like a depth perception to it so that it kind of have multiple levels. But then I didn't want to build anything that would take away from the sight of this Giga coaster. And so my thought was I could possibly build a wooden coaster kind of going along this ledge here, this edge, because if anything, with it being a kid's coaster, it's not going to really block the drop at all. And not that you need to see the bottom of the drop, it's more just kind of keeping the eyesight of that coaster. So I don't want to build an invert here or anything that's going to kind of take away from that. And so that's what we're going to plan on doing. Put in a couple flat rides along with a coaster, and I'll see you guys at the first update. Welcome to the first update. And as you can see, we now have a mini coaster. And I will say one area of coasters that I'm not too knowledgeable on is kind of GCI and CCI and kind of what really makes them different. I know GCI has kind of, every one of them kind of has this bank turn at the beginning. So I don't know if this technically would be a layout similar to a GCI family coaster. I tried to look up some and it looked like it could be. So that was kind of what I was trying to go with and model. And so as you can kind of see, which I need to rework this kind of path right here, because this thing looks pretty janky. So I'll definitely rework that. So the idea here is, I kind of wanted to change the elevation a little bit. And so once we kind of get foliage and everything's kind of set up down here, it's gonna look really cool, I think, with the kind of the slight change of elevation. And I know these 10-meter paths are so wide, but like it just kills the counter in this game if you're using paths that aren't 10 meters. Um, for anybody who saw the Oswald cheat that I did a couple, I guess it's about almost 2 weeks ago, like there's a drastic difference between doing even 5 meter, 6 meter paths and 10-meter paths. So that's kind of my reasoning for this. Like I know this is massive, but I'm gonna put kind of planters and different trees and stuff, maybe even in the middle of the paths to kind of break it up. Because I do plan on covering all of this in some kind of tile, or not tile, but something to just kind of mask the areas that are grass, and we'll see, that could change, but that's kind of my idea. So here's the kind of layout right now. I don't want to put any more flat rides, and the reason is I'm trying to limit the overall amount of rides. Like, normally you would see probably four, I mean, actually probably 6 or 7 flat rides in the kids area of the park technically. But my reasoning for not doing that is on the previous park I had 10 coasters, 14 or 15 flat rides, and a track ride, and it seemed like there was nobody in the park because there was just too much. So I want to try to keep it more reasonable. Keep it to about 10 flat rides overall in the park, and we already would have 4 right now. And then plus that track ride and, doing the coasters and stuff. So we'll see. But that's kind of my idea for doing this. And I'll probably add in, like I've got this as a kind of restroom area. I'll add in some more buildings probably over here. I don't know if they'll actually be usable or not, but just be kind of faux buildings. And then this is going to be, I think it's going to be really cool once it's done, because I'm planning on creating this, just, I don't know what the term for this type of building is. This hexagonal, actually it's not hexagon, it's an octagon. This octagonal building, and so, I'm going to try to maybe do something unique with the roof. But then my idea here, and I've never done this before, is going to try to make a custom gazebo, because I think that would just be a really kind of cool look as you're walking down the path. And obviously here's the coaster. So I think the layout's pretty good. It runs through the layout. I don't think I changed the friction at all, did I? Let's test it out. No, I didn't change the friction at all. So it runs through the layout pretty good. And if we look at the stats, the highest drop is 41 feet, I believe, or 45 feet. The max speed is 40 miles per hour. So it keeps a good consistent speed. I guess I do need to. No, these are GCI trains, I believe. And one part of it that I do like is, and that's gonna be where the transfer track is the coaster right here goes right around these posts for the massive giga. And that's another reason of having the family area in this part is I didn't want to put another coaster here that kind of took your eyes away from this giga coaster. Um, so as you're walking down this way, there's nothing blocking that line of sight. So even if we look at, how this looks at in the with this lighting, right? There's nothing kind of blocking that coaster. And I could look at this all day like this, man. This is amazing. Um, just how that lighting worked out with where I built the coaster. Yeah, so I'm going to continue working, and I will see you guys in at the next update. And we now have some good depth to the park. So, in this update, there's a couple really things I'm really excited to show. And first off, I just used the Spook Central windowsill here. As it's, when it's lowered into the ground, it kind of looks like it could be a curb. And so I just continued what I've been using over here, and that's only 81 pieces at this point. So that's not bad, kind of using that part of it, because I'm not going to necessarily curve the entire every path in the park type thing, but there's definitely going to be areas where I have that kind of done. And here I started putting this fencing around. I put it around maybe half this area. Um, and it's 55 pieces for that. That's still not bad either. I mean, ultimately, a couple percent each park is going to be going towards fencing and stuff like that, just because having that custom stuff done just makes the park look more natural. But as you can kind of see, I mean, look at, oh, that is perfect timing. um I always got to check this out at night, or not at night, at the, oh, so beautiful. Oh, look at that lighting. That is, ooh, that is amazing. Wow. I still gotta light up the park because I haven't really put many lights in the park yet, but that will come next time, hopefully. As I said, that's one of the things I hate doing the least, putting that and like benches around and stuff. But yeah, so we got a little driveway here. I gotta put a little door here for the employees, and we've got our flat ride. And one thing that I'm really excited about what I've done here is it's kind of created these layers to it. So when you're on this ride, I might remove some of these trees. I'm still kind of figure out what I'll really like the best with this. But what I created was this kind of ledge. And so instead of having, this kind of rough terrain area, it's kind of got these layers to it. And also, if you're up here, you can just see and peek through just a tad bit. Not much, but you can just peek through a little bit. So I might change the foliage up here a little bit. But the idea is that this section is really kind of dug out, and I just love the views of that. Don't look to the right yet. We'll get there in a second. And so we got this flat ride. So obviously still a lot of little touch up things to do. And if you see kind of what the plaza is starting to look like, I put the fencing down for the most part, or the flooring. So a lot of little things. All the major things have been done at this point. I haven't started the station yet. I probably should have done that before I did this update, but it's all good. Here, I still got to place some flooring down here, but I created this little bathroom, and I took over these water fountains from the main entryway. So we got a little bathroom area, and I'm thinking about putting just another kind of faux building here that's not actually going to be anything, but it's just going to look like it's something. And there'd be like a little mini backstage kind of between the two buildings. And here, obviously, is going to be the backstage. I'm not going to go too crazy with backstages in this park. Like, I'm going to have them, but I'm not going to deck them out like a crazy amount, just because for the sake of piece count and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, really, really happy with this. And so this is one thing that I wanted to show you guys because this is awesome. So I've never done one of these before. So I wanted to create this kind of pergola, or gazebo, not pergola, kind of gazebo for this flat ride, because I just think it'd be just amazing kind of looking down here. And I'm not that I'm necessarily loving the colors I chose, but I do think that having these thick wooden beams, but then having the haunted house pillars on the outside of it, I think has a good look to it. And let me actually check one thing real quick. Let's see. If I were to, let's see. So what I'm trying to see is if I have this maybe at the, let's see. Yeah, we'll have to turn this off just to kind of create the border. Um, let's see. Yeah, so this was the hard part was getting it to where it actually kind of lined up with um, getting this where the two of them connected. So the key is, and sorry, I kind of fumbled over my words there, but the key is you need to place this on a grid system. And so that's the first step is you need to make sure that um, that whatever you're creating here, your wow, I can't talk right now, guys. I'm so sorry. I obviously can't multitask well, which is strange. Um, but yeah, you got to make sure that it's. What I'm doing is I'm deleting these pieces underneath. But you got to first make sure that it's on a grid. And so what I did, and I saw this online, was I just created this wooden post. And I don't know if I'm necessarily going to keep this here or not. But the key is that that creates my grid. So everything is built off that. Well, then what I did was I essentially created the kind of what I want the outline of that to be with one of these sides, and I copied it over, and then if you exit out, I just advanced moved it to where I could get this 1/8 kind of, or this 45-degree difference between. And then I had to kind of figure out, okay, what does the degree need to be to go from here to here? And so that was the tricky part. And these might not be spaced out exact, but it's all good. I just use thick wooden beams. I feel like gray is a kind of average color you can use there. So now what I need to do is, and this is really cool. Guys, this is awesome. So I need to delete this. This is my first time ever doing this, so I'm really happy with how this turned out. So now, um, if I click on here, hold on a second. Yeah, so and then I highlight everything. I can then copy it over. So now what this has done is, so now I've got my 90-degree turns with that. So then I exit out of it, and then I can advance, move, and copy, and I can move this 45 degrees. And now I have myself a gazebo or whatever it's called, if that's not the proper word. So now, and I'll probably lower it some a little bit, but that just gives such a cool look as you kind of enter this area. Oh, I'm so happy with how it turned out. I might have to move the queue path some, but I'll get that figured out. Oh my gosh, so happy with this. So yeah, this is amazing. The only thing now is I've got eight of. Let's see if I can click on this. I've got eight of these posts here now, so I can just delete. Yeah, so I can just delete these posts. So this is I've never done one of these before, and if anybody has, oh, I like the look that kind of makes right there when all this kind of interact. That's pretty awesome. I would love to hear your thoughts on how I did with this, or how you maybe approach it, because that actually wasn't as difficult as I was thinking it would be. But yeah, and so I think it gives kind of a cool look to it. I've added these trees around as we can obviously see, and this might not be the final look of it. I just kind of place them down to kind of visually start seeing how it would look. I still plan on. I need to figure out what this building style is going to be. I'll probably keep the same color as this is, and kind of have the color of a lot of the buildings be pretty uniform in this area. And then, because of themed thrills mentioned that in this kids area, it could be nice to have one of these spinning coasters. I believe this is a Mauer spinning coaster is what it's called. I kind of get these and the Gerstlauer confused, but I think the Gerstlauer doesn't sit backwards like that. I could be wrong though. And so I did a little bit of kind of editing with this. I didn't necessarily model it after any One in particular, I just kind of started building, and it's not exact. Like most of them don't have this little space here, but I did that to kind of give it a little bit more time before it went down the hill because it kind of had a sharp turn. And I've added in 4 or 5 different block sections. I have the spinning thing there, so it starts to spin them a little bit as you go. So as you can see, it started to spin a little bit. We've got a block section here, and then it goes up the lift, obviously. And then there's another block section there, and then another spin thing. And so the spinning is pretty good. It's not overly done, but it's not that it doesn't spin at all, if that makes sense. So another block section. So we'll take a ride on both the coasters at the end. And yeah, and so my plan is either have a um, little space right here. It doesn't have to be much for this, or I could put it over here, kind of on this side, and kind of have access from up here and from the lower level as well. So yeah, that's the update for now, and I'm gonna continue building. And I'm just this. I love how this has turned out so far. I'm really happy with it. Obviously, have a lot of work still to do, but I will see you guys when this is finished. Welcome to the final reveal, and we have a new sign here. So it's gonna be called the Kids Zone. So original, right? And I'm terrible with making up names. If you guys think of a better name, let me know. But it need to be something that would kind of fit on that sign. And I didn't make that lettering myself. It's on the workshop. All the letters are already made up. Or do you think I should have an S instead of the Z? But one thing I like is this park is starting to get more crowded, and it's really kind of cool because now that we got more rides in it, you're starting to see guests really flood down to this area because that's kind of the only main area of the park so far. But one thing I did make up here is this beautiful viewing deck. And all I did here was I placed the chain link fence inside the wood pieces. And as you can see, we've got the queue, got the station. Only negative is you're kind of looking down to the backstage area here. But I think most people's eyes would kind of be heading this way, so it's not the end of the world. And obviously we got the Giga coaster there. You got the gazebo. You can kind of see, and it's not necessarily a super long track ride, but it's not really short either. And kind of creating that little middle section was not the easiest to do. Trying to make sure it lined up okay. And then we obviously have the wooden coaster here. And so yeah, everything is really working out. And so this view just looks awesome in my opinion. So let's kind of change this to check out the sunrise and the kind of lighting that you get. And yeah, it looks really cool. That's interesting how the moon is. Oh, the moon just disappears. What? Um, yeah, and so up here is going to be kind of where we go with the next episode. Going to be kind of going to this area. And so let's go ahead and walk down through the kids zone. And once we look at everything in flip cam mode and a little bit of detail, and then I like using custom curbing. I think I mentioned that before. And right here we have, this would be like a little place for if the backstage people do need to get a truck onto these paths or anything like that. So as you can see, try to use terrain paint to try to make it look like it's a used patch of grass and stuff. Probably I'll do a little more terrain paint in here as we kind of go along. Forgot to do that, but here we have the flat ride. And I kind of got this it's kind of carried the detailing with the walls and the fences and stuff from the area. I need to figure out a name for it though. And here we have the aristocrats. So I do like the custom curbs that I ended up using. I think those look, not custom curbs, custom fencing here. I think that does look nice. I just went ahead and called it the name of the overall ride. So original. And then you guys have seen at least this portion of it, but I did add the water feature that makes it look like it's a sprinkler. So it looks like it's being misted. So the flowers are being cared for. And then we have the gazebo. And I like the fencing you have here. I like the fact that you can also kind of look through and you can see a little bit of like whatever this, there we go. So you can look through and see a little bit of the car ride, but not enough where you could just like sit there and stare at people. But it's just kind of a good visual look to see. And so really, really, absolutely loving how this turned out, to be honest. And this part, I might do a little bit more detail in this building. Like, I do need to add a staff room in this area, so I'll probably do that. Maybe add a little condiment section. But just trying to figure out what else I kind of want this to look like. So that's kind of my thought. But I've got, 4 stalls here. So this is kind of the main food area for this space. And then moving up here, the wall's going to end right here, this type of wall. I don't know what I'm going to do for curbing here, but there is going to be this little pathway for the employees to get their truck down here or whatever they need to for the. Oh, why did I do that? This happens every single time. I guess I can't go through that wall. So, yeah, let's get back in flip cam mode. That just drives me crazy how that happens. There we go. And I do like getting the HUD off the screen while in flip cam mode, and then when we look around afterwards, we can keep it on the screen. Yeah, so if we go this way, we got that gazebo. There's a little more detail with it around the edges. I extended it just a little bit more so that I could kind of have the path be underneath either. The path was also really tough to get right. We got this restroom building. We got this food building. I called it Haya Sushi. I don't know if that's maybe the best thing for kids, if kids like sushi that much. I mean, I personally don't, but so I might end up changing that. But we got staff only, so there's working area back there. And then here we've got the station, which once I come up with the name for this coaster, I will put the name up there kind of on the front of it. But I tried to model some of this station after, I think it's Blue Streak at Cedar Point, just kind of the building pieces. I know it doesn't look like it, but that's kind of one of the images that I kind of took as reference. And then right here, this custom wall, which I think just adding the scaffolding pieces really just to me adds a lot of detail. Because if you could see how this looks compared to how that looks over there without the scaffolding pieces, I think looks really good. And so just continuing this kind of garden feel all the way across. And then here's the spinning star. I don't know if that's going to be the name of it or not. But I am really happy with how this has turned out. I haven't fully detailed it yet, so that's going to be part of the next episode. But we'll go on a ride on that at the end. And then, yeah, so that's kind of the main area of what's been worked on in this park this episode, as we can kind of see an overview of it. So it's definitely got a good amount of space that's taken up, and a lot of custom stuff done. Like you got this custom flooring, just using the firehouse roof color to light gray. And I just like placing these down as kind of borders because the firehouse roof pieces, whenever it started to slant, you obviously couldn't have it there. But let's start going on some rides. So let's start with the flat ride here, the track ride. And for this station, I didn't try to do anything too crazy. And my cat is just, I don't know what the heck he's doing, but he's jumping up on the blinds and stuff, going crazy. But yeah, maybe, I decided to kind of go with these posts right here. Because I've never really done a station using the rounded coaster supports. So I think it turned out well. And obviously we've got which I don't know why that's showing up red. That is so weird. Why is that showing up red? Oh, that's weird. I don't know why it's doing that. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a ride on this track ride. So I am happy with how this turned out. Let's go ahead and speed it up to ×2 speed since these go pretty slow. And I did check, there is clearance on all the sides. So a couple of them look like it gets close to a pillar. Like that one there. But it does clear it. There we go. So that was the track ride, and happy with how that turned out. For a while there, this is like one of the last things I did because I was just like, I just have no idea what to do with this, and I'm never really good at theming, so it's not like it's really got much of a theme to it. But I do think it worked out well. Happy with how it turned out. And so if we head this way to the wooden coaster, but as you can see in here, oh sorry, I'm kind of going fast with the camera. Some of this part isn't accessible for guests, and it's because the pathing just wasn't working fully, which is kind of strange to me. Now, one thing is back here, started adding some of the realism pieces and stuff like that. And another thing I did for realism is these wooden scaffolding pieces. Which it's not letting me click on it. All right. Anytime, let's see. There we go. Wooden scaffolding plank. So anytime that this coaster goes above the track, which I do need to change that color from green, um, what I did was I placed it underneath. So it gives this look like this where nothing's going to fall through and possibly hit a guest or hit somebody that's underneath it. And so this is a backstage area. And that looked like that went pretty fast, but it only goes about 40 miles an hour. And same thing here. And I've added in a couple garages. And so I love how this little warehouse turned out for the transfer track. And I haven't really decked it out too much on the inside. I don't know if I'm really going to do too much more, just for the sake of saving pieces and stuff. I might come back to it. But we have, I'm just kind of copying and pasting stuff from other places in the park, because usually, generally, a lot of it's kind of the same with your boxes and stuff. But absolutely love this. So the coaster would come this way, and obviously would go in here, and then at nighttime, just to kind of see what it looks like. Everything's lit up enough using those area lights and stuff like that. And you could have a kind of truck. Ooh, I like that. This was off the workshop. I can't remember if this is the one that Insomniac made or Brivades, but those are two creators that have made these type of construction pieces off, and it's on the workshop. So yeah, now we go this way. Let's go ahead and walk up the queue. And I like how if you look back, that looks pretty nice. And I did put a fencing around so that guests can't just jump over and get to the coaster track. And so as you can see here, once again, you've got the scaffolding pieces. So now when we come into the station, nothing too crazy. Basically, I have recessed lighting. The only thing that's annoying to me is this portion right here. And, maybe if I just raised everything else a little bit, but I was at a point where I was like, yeah, this is going to take a while to kind of fix this part, but how it kind of sticks down. But it's not the end of the world. I don't think most people would notice. I don't think you would notice unless if I let you guys know. But then we got custom fencing around here. I did think about putting a photo shop or photo station here, but decided not to. So let's go ahead and take a ride on this coaster. If we look at the stats real quick, I don't really care too much about trying to get in green because it's not going to. G-forces look really good. 46 feet, average speed or max speed 41 miles per hour. And there's a 1 airtime hill. So there was the family wooden coaster. What are y'all's thoughts? I think outside of maybe the first drop, I do love how it kind of soars over this area. And then I like how in this part, it really kind of feels secluded, especially when you get down here because you can't really see any of the park. And then you come around this way, you got a curve, and then you do a pretty tight turn. And while you're doing that, you're doing that turn in between two other coasters. So I think that's pretty cool. I would love your thoughts and opinion. Do you think this model is more GCI or Gravity Group? I mean, I think GCI, but I could be totally wrong with that. So as we kind of look at the layout, nothing overly complicated. It's got a small double down at the end. And then, as I said before, carrying this fencing around, I do need to put some of that sprinkler stuff here with the plants, but it really makes a huge difference adding these scaffolding pieces to it, because you look at that compared to this. And not that this looks terrible, but it's like it's not really much, right? And so just adding that just adds a lot of extra stuff to it. And so next episode I'll be finishing this area in this spot. So I don't really have an idea of full idea of what I'm gonna do next with it. But let's go ahead and take a ride on this coaster. So if you look at the results, biggest drop is 40 feet, max speed 38 miles per hour. G-force is pretty good. Lateral's maybe a little bit high. But there's really only one area where the spinning kind of gets a little bit crazier than I meant for it to be. Really happy how that one's turned out. I think the one spot that gets a little bit questionable is this part, and I worked for a long time trying to get that to work better, and couldn't really get it working better, but overall, really happy with it. It doesn't have a lot of full turns, but I think it's enough without it being too much or too little. Then let's take a look at nighttime, as I have actually added lights to this part of the path, believe it or not, this part of the park. Look at that, we have some lights. So it's lit up enough. As I said before, this is honestly lights, path, or um, what am I thinking of? Benches and trash bins and stuff, which I haven't put trash bins around, but that's my least favorite thing to do in this game. But yeah, I really like how it's turning out. You know, we'll do a night ride on the wooden coaster as we kind of wrap this episode up. But as I said before, we're gonna be working the next episode in this area, potentially working on the station for the Giga, finishing up this area, and we're not gonna have a coaster next episode. We'll wait till the episode after that because I do plan on putting the B&M invert in here. But you know, we'll just try to start getting this area kind of worked out. And then I obviously got to add lights to the rest of the park. Still got to finish this little spot over here. But overall, it's coming together really well. As you can see, 46%. So that is getting a little bit higher than I would prefer to be. But through finishing this area and then obviously adding this stuff, I think it added about 14% or so. So, you know, not too bad. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we're going to end it with a back ride POV of the wooden coaster so we can fly on this thing at night. Thank you so much as always for all your support and comments, and I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week. See you guys next time.